Hi, I'm Rek Kwawer from NASCO. Today we're going to look at some case studies exploring when co-ops have dealt with situations that involve conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest. If you haven't already looked at our webinar on definitions of conflict of interest, you may want to do that first. In another presentation, we talked about definitions of conflict of interest, how to disclose conflict of interest, and how an organization can manage potential conflicts of interest. In this presentation, we'll look at some more in-depth case studies. None of these situations are real, but they're based on experiences in different co-ops. Some of these may ring true to your experiences within your own cooperative, and some may be unfamiliar. In either situation, these can be used to inspire more discussion about conflict of interest and how your co-op wants to handle. Our first case study is about self-dealing. Jennifer lives in a cooperative and is on the board of directors. She runs her own business as a carpenter. One of the other houses needs some extensive work done on their porch. Some members of the co-op suggest hiring Jennifer to do the work and bring a proposal to the board. They don't propose any other carpenters and don't look at whether Jennifer is offering a fair rate. And Jennifer votes in favor of giving the contract to herself. This is a conflict of interest because Jennifer is benefiting from this decision and the board has not done due diligence to verify that Jennifer is acting in the best interest of the cooperative rather than herself. The duty of care and duty of loyalty that board members must have to the organization require that they focus on what is best for the organization. However, this doesn't have to be a situation where there is a self-dealing conflict of interest. How could Jennifer avoid this conflict? First, the board could look into a few other carpenters to see how much they would charge for the project. Second, the board could check Jennifer's work references to make sure she is qualified to do this work. Third, Jennifer could state at the beginning of the meeting that she is one of the carpenters who might be hired for this project and thus has a conflict of interest. Then during the discussion of the item, others on the board would be aware that Jennifer is speaking from a position of potentially benefiting from the outcome. Finally, Jennifer could abstain from voting whether or not the board decides to vote on hiring her. Jennifer could even offer to leave the room during the discussion or voting so that people can candidly discuss the different bids. Our next case study is about nepotism. Nate and Sam are in a serious relationship. They both live in the co-op. Sam is a well-respected member. Nate almost never does his chores. Nate has missed 5 chore shifts in a row and hasn't done a makeup task, so the house is discussing evicting him, which is their policy when people miss 5 or more chore shifts. Someone suggests that Nate shouldn't be part of the discussion and vote, so he leaves. However, Sam stays and speaks strongly against evicting Nate and blocks consensus so that Nate isn't evicted. Just as in the self-dealing example, there are ways for Sam to handle this situation differently. Even though everyone in the house knows that Sam and Nate are dating, it's still important for Sam to disclose this at the beginning of the discussion as a potential conflict of interest. Just identifying that the issue exists goes a long way. It builds a culture of honesty, and it reminds people that interpersonal factors are something to consider, and it demonstrates that Sam is focusing on what is best for the house. Once Sam has told everyone how Nate's eviction presents a conflict of interest, Sam can speak passionately against evicting Nate, and everyone present will be able to take into account Sam's personal investment in the outcome. In a situation like this, it probably isn't appropriate for Sam to vote, and Sam should state that when they abstain. Our third case study is about outside interests. Most people don't realize that Alex is the employee representative to the board of directors at the local food co-op. The house spends some of its money at the food co-op to support another co-op, but most of their food comes from the large grocery store with much cheaper prices. The food co-op is struggling and is trying to increase sales. Alex proposes that the house buy all of its food at the food co-op, but doesn't mention that Alex is on the board. Alex is very persuasive, and the house decides to increase its food budget and charge all of its members more in order to support the food co-op. There's nothing inherently problematic about Alex proposing that the house spend more money at the food co-op. Many housing co-ops try to balance keeping food costs low with supporting community businesses, and supporting other co-ops is one of the cooperative principles. In a situation like this, Alex should inform the housing cooperative that they are on the board of the food co-op. Alex can also, as much as the food co-op board allows, explain to the house that the food co-op is struggling and needs to increase sales to stay in business. In fact, this may be a very compelling argument to members of the house who might otherwise be on the fence about spending more money. Alex doesn't personally benefit from the house's decision, so there isn't very much issue with Alex voting, once they have disclosed that they do have a loyalty to multiple organizations. The house may or may not choose to raise their food budget, but people will probably feel much better knowing that they've discussed the actual issues of how to support the local food co-op, rather than feeling forced into a decision by one persuasive member. As you can see, there are many different ways for people to handle potential conflicts of interest. Openness and transparency are the key to this. These case studies might be useful for your co-op to discuss. What other possible outcomes can you imagine? What might your co-op want to do in order to manage conflicts of interest and maintain a strong and healthy culture? Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy our other webinars.